Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some statistics about the traditional Amazon seller, just like you. Let's get started. Now, before we get started, make sure you check out my Facebook page, YouTube channel, and my other Udemy courses. Like, subscribe, comment, start some conversations, ask questions. I want to talk to you guys. All right, let's get started. Now, before I go into these statistics, I want to describe to you why we're talking about statistics and not my story. Truth be told, my story is going to be different than your story. So if I tell you hey guys, I made millions and tens of millions of dollars and I want to show you how to make some awesome money, that's going to be what's called anecdotal evidence, and it provides you with a false impression that your story is going to be just like mine. And that's not the case. All Amazon sellers are different. And so if you see on a YouTube channel or someone else saying things like, hey guys, look at me, I'm making millions of dollars selling on Amazon, try to ignore that, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to too. And I understand that you might, and that's great. I do want that for you. That's why I made this course. But when people describe when the outliers of Amazon sellers start describing their stories as though they were the traditional Amazon seller, that kind of gives a false impression for traditional Amazon sellers who are just starting out. So I'm going to give you a real picture of what it is going to be like to be an Amazon seller. So let's get started. The first statistic here, these statistics are from 2014, and they were developed by Web Retailer for online marketplace sellers. I'm going to focus on these three. This one's not very interesting to me, but 4 times many sellers make $1 million in sales on Amazon than on eBay. And this was made in 2014. That number has climbed up much more than that. What this tells me is that the people from eBay are migrating to Amazon. Something's special about Amazon, that people want to make millions in sales over there than on eBay. And we're going to see really quickly that being successful on Amazon looks to be a lot easier than being successful on eBay. Now, 55% have a profit margin above 20%. And this is for all online marketplaces. For Amazon, that number is actually much larger. The reason for that is, again, because everyone's moving to Amazon. That's because they see more profit margins there. They see more opportunity to make millions of dollars there. So the profit margins for Amazon is probably a lot bigger, but we're going to be using that number anyways. We're just going to assume that people make 20% on average profit margins. And then 29% aren't satisfied with their channel management software. The software that we use is Jungle Scout. Jungle Scout is an awesome resource. I think you guys are going to love it. I'm going to scroll all the way down to this statistic over here. What is your annual revenue for each marketplace? So this is $10,000, $10,000 to $100,000, $100,000 to $1 million, $1 million to $10 million, and $10 million to $100 million. I'm going to do an underestimate right now. I want you to take all of these numbers and figure out what 20% of that is. This means that 9% of people on Amazon make under $2,000, which is 20% of $10,000, $2,000 in profit. 34.7% of people make between $2,000 and $20,000 in profit a year. 39.6% make between $20,000 and $200,000 in profit every year. 14.6% of people make between $200,000 and $2 million in profit every year. And then 2.1% make anywhere between $2 million and $20 million in profit every year. That's kind of the if we're looking into how much money are you going to be making, that's probably a good way of looking at this chart. So that being said, and keep in mind that, by the way, that's using a profit margin of 20%. If you want to be realistic though, I'd probably use a profit margin of 50%. Especially in this class, like we're going to be building products that have a profit margin anywhere between 35 and 65%. Like that's our goal. And if we can get that and we fall under one of these categories, we're going to make a lot more profit, obviously. So let's talk about this number right here. This number really determines the success of being on an Amazon seller. This says 9% of people make under $10,000 in revenue. To me, that means that 9% of people are either first-time Amazon sellers, they're just starting, like brand new, or we have 9%, some of those 9% probably has a category of people that, have products that are flops. So either this accounts for people that have products with flops, or it's first-time Amazon sellers. Frankly, it's probably, if we're honest, like it's probably more people who have products that are flops. They're not doing so great, or they're just honestly they're not they're just not selling products. They haven't gotten around to shipping products to the Amazon warehouses. So maybe they're just paying the $39.99, or maybe they're just registered on Amazon as an individual seller. Whatever the case may be, this is great news for you. This means that 91% of people on Amazon are making pretty decent amount of sales every year, between 10,000 and up. That is awesome news. And if we can just make our profit margins good, that means you're going to be making at least $2,000 in profit every single year. And I know that might not seem like a lot, but you're not doing a lot of work for that $2,000 per year. Keep in mind, that is the super low end of the profit margins. You have a 91% chance of making at least $2,000 in profit every year by making a couple clicks and a couple emails. That's pretty awesome. But let's get into the statistics that discusses about how much profit you're going to be really making here. So we have 34.7% make between $10,000 and $100,000 in revenue, meaning these people make anywhere between $2,000 to $20,000 in profits every year. So you have a 34.7% chance of being in this category. This is probably where you're going to start out, to be honest. You're going to be making somewhere between $2,000 and $20,000 profit every year. It might take you a couple of years to get beyond this category. And so if you hear people saying like, I make $1,000 a day, I would be a little concerned with that, considering the statistics of Amazon sellers. Now, I'm giving you this course. This course is going to be, beneficial for you. A lot of people just become an Amazon seller because they think it's going to be great, and they develop an LLC or whatever, and they think they're going to do everything on their own. They don't do so much research. Things don't really work out for them, unfortunately, because they don't know what they're doing, and they just try to like follow the crowd. But it takes time and dedication. You have to watch this whole course. You have to watch more videos. You have to practice. You have to start small and grow. And so you're probably going to be under this category. So I'm not going to promise you that you're going to make, hundreds of millions of dollars in profits, because frankly, you're probably not. Now, if you have enough dedication, you can move over to the next category. And keep in mind, if you do the math here, over 51%, that's way bigger. Around 55% of people make above $100,000 in revenue. That's huge. Let me tell you a statistic about these people. If you're making over $100,000 in revenue, that means you're doing something right. So think about the people that lie in this category. Do you think they're struggling? Do you think they're trying to make, a couple more pennies because, they're really not doing very well? No, these people are doing very well. And these are the people that are probably making like $1,000 a day or whatever. And that's over half of the Amazon sellers. So you have a decent chance of getting up to this. It's going to take a while, but once you get there, And once you really practice, what you preach and that's not the right saying. Once you practice what you've learned and you've made mistakes and you've learned from those mistakes, you can enter into this category along with more than half of the other sellers that make at least $100,000. And those people, keep in mind, considering the profit margins, are making at least $20,000 in profits. And that's considered a livable wage. You can, at that point, start considering whether or not you want to quit your daytime job. If you're working like 9 to 5 and you don't like where you work. Obviously, if you like where you work, you should stay there though. Now, 39.6% of the people make between $100,000 and $1 million in revenue, meaning that they make between $20,000 and $200,000 in profit. 14.6% of people make between $1 million revenue and $10 million revenue, which is $200,000 to $2 million in profit. At this point, this is where I would start to say it's going to be really hard to get there. Like, this takes a lot of time. Believe me, it takes a ton of work, a lot of emails. At this point, you're starting to get into like a serious part-time, full-time job thing. And this is going to consume a lot of time and effort. And so the people that are in this category, I mean, if you don't get to this category, that's perfectly fine. Frankly, if you can get even up to I think the average in between here is $550,000 in revenue, which corresponds to, I'm bad at math, $110,000 in profit. If you're doing that and you're in this category, that's the middle right there. That's the median profit. If you're making $110,000 in profit, I wouldn't complain. I mean, that's great. That's awesome. That's really, 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 really good. So, all I'm trying to prove to you guys is that this is possible. You can still go into this market. Now, this is 2014, so unfortunately, I'm going to share with you some more statistics that might indicate that these statistics are a little bit inflated from where they are right now, but it's not something to really be concerned about, and I'll talk about that in a second. The next thing I want to share with you is the success on eBay. Look at this. 34.3% of people make under $10,000. So if you're an eBay seller, chances are you're not going to be that successful. If you're a Sears seller, you're not going to be that successful. Rakuten, I can't say words, other, Newegg, Etsy, chances are it's not going to be that great of a market to be in. And if so, most of people are either flops or they're just starting. And if we're thinking about eBay, those are flops. You know, people have been on eBay for years. And if you have over a third of the people on eBay that are making under $10,000 in revenue, most people, you can clearly say that most people aren't doing very well. And like, if you see people like claiming like you can make over $10 million in revenue or over $2 million in profit on eBay, they're probably not being honest with you, because if 0% of the people's, like less than 0.05% of the people aren't making above $10 million in revenue, it's probably not going, that's not right. That needs to be, 0.05%. Yeah, so then if that's the amount of people in this category at most, you're probably looking to say that that person who's saying that you can make millions of dollars in eBay is probably not telling you the whole truth. So selling on eBay is not something that we want to strive for, because if you do that, it's going to take work to get to that $100,000 to $1 million range. And that's where we start making like a livable wage. And so you have to struggle a lot on eBay to make a livable wage.